Now this is my kind of dinosaur. He can fly. Then again, I can swim too. Speaking of which, mind if I borrow one of those swords? I want to try some harpoon fishing. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're going to take a look at a bunch of Transformers inspired from the 1980s Generation 1. We're starting off with a Studio 86 figure. We finally have the last of the Dinobots. This is Swoop. And Swoop here is done up in his animated appearance. Apparently the animated appearance was based on how the original Takara toy was done up, but he was recolored when released as a Transformer, so that way he would match the others. Personally, like many of the fans, I prefer this color scheme. And now we finally have all 5 of them. Swoop does come with plenty of weapons, and as you can see, he can be displayed, storing all of them. Give him a quick spin around the backside. All in all, I do like how the design is set up. It does look pretty good. And now why don't we start taking a look at his accessories. We'll start with his guns. Both of his guns are the same, so we'll only take a look at one of them. These are, of course, his rocket launchers. And as you can see, they mount onto his wings, just like they did on the Generation 1 toy. But they also have a removable missile tip. This way, if you have some of the earlier toys that have the blast effects, you can attach them into here and then give a simulation that he is launching the missiles. And again, both guns and missiles are exactly the same, so if you find one loose, that's what you want to find. And then, strangely, Swoop comes with 2 swords, and you can store both swords on his backside. This one here that we had on the left, this one is done up to resemble his Generation 1 toy sword. His was a little bit different, having this pipe along the side of it. Dinobot swords are supposedly energon blades, so the blade would be somewhat similar to a lightsaber, at least in the terms of the fact that it is an energy blade and not a physical blade. Although in some sources they say it's a physical blade that the edges have energon seeping out of them, increasing their cutting power. But to each their own. And then he has this second, larger sword. According to the Transformer Wiki, the reason he has 2 swords is that this one is meant for Grimlock. Since Grimlock is the only one of the Dinobots in the Studio 86 line that did not come with his sword. They instead put priority on giving him Wheelie, which I don't think a lot of the fans really would have cared. I think we would have preferred the sword over Wheelie, especially when they made Wheelie a static figure, but within the following year or 2, they released a separate Wheelie that had more articulation. So, kind of a dumb move on Hasbro's part, but at least they're rectifying it somewhat here with Swoop. So now, without all of Swoop's accessories, we'll take a look at his articulation. His head can be turned from side to side, and it is on a ball joint, so it will rock up and down a bit. You can raise his arms up to the side, about so far. And if you got the wings out of the way, you can mostly rotate his arm at the shoulder. You can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees, and he does have a swivel at the bicep, so he has G.I. Joe style battle grip. You can somewhat twist him at the hips, so his dance moves aren't the greatest, but it does give you some options for posing. You can spread his legs apart into a full splits. He does have a decent thigh cut. You can raise his leg at the hip about 90 degrees, and you can bend his leg at the knee greater than 90 degrees. So all in all, Swoop's got some decent articulation. Now, there are a few things I want to point out about Swoop before we transform him. First is that according to the Transformer Wiki, they say that there are reports that some of them have extremely tight pegs, especially in the chest area on Swoop, that it makes it very difficult sometimes to separate it to transform him back into the robot. And one thing I want to mention is that when I was packing him to come along this trip where we're at now, I inadvertently knocked his head off, and it seems like the face is attached by a separate piece. I'm not going to pop it totally free because I don't want to take the risk I break this figure, because I've had a heck of a job trying to find him, but apparently it doesn't take much effort to do it, and since the face is apparently on a separate piece, that means that it can also come off and be easily lost. So do be careful with that if you do buy one on the secondary market. But of course, as we stated with the pegs, he's difficult to get good on the brand new, so Swoop's a rather fragile one, so do be careful with him. Okay, let's get Swoop transformed now. The first step to do is we got to move his arms a bit and fold the fists back into the arms. There we go. Once we've done that, then we kind of straighten his arms and put them down to the sides like so. Because we're going to take his wings. There's a tab right here and a corresponding hole down here, which should line up with a post and a hole on his arms. So fold those wings in and get them secured to his arms. Here we go. There we go. Resulting snap confirms he's in. That's got him together. And now we raise up this piece on the dinosaur head. And then we can pop the robot head free and fold it against the dinosaur head. And then put this back down and it will hold the head in place. And now we'll separate his body at the shoulders. Fold them back a bit like so. Raise up the dinosaur head and fold it all the way to the back, because you'll see there's some extra plastic here. I want you to kind of fold that down like so once you get his head out. And then now that you've done that, we will work the body so that it folds down into the center like so. Careful that you may pop the arms free, but get it together like so, and then press it together as neatly as you can. Get those arms back together. And then you can kind of adjust the dinosaur head, because it does allow for some movement. Then now we're going to come down here to his feet. We'll fold his blue heels inside. Then we can turn him over and fold the feet into the backs of his legs like so. Come up here to his wings. And we will fold out these sections of wing. Fold them out straight, and then these tips can then fold over to fully complete the look of his wings. Then we will start to bring the legs up. And there's a hole, there's a large hole in here on the feet, and they should line up and plug into these holes, these posts rather, onto his back. Pretty much transforms almost the same as his Generation 1 version. And basically once you've done that, then you can adjust the feet for how you want to pose him. You can stick them straight out to simulate flight. Or if you want to, you can bring them down like so. And plus adjust his head. And you've got him in a landing position, which looks pretty good. Now, of course, if you've got him in the landing position, then you can attach the guns like so, which looks kind of nice, but if you go the extra step and have him in flight mode, you can then take the swords and attach them to these holes onto the robot's feet. And then he's got all of his accessories. And he does, for a flying dinosaur, he does swoosh pretty good. But now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Swoop? This one is definitely one that I really love. I love how well it turned out. Certainly do like all the options that you have for display. And you do have some articulation. I mean, you can't do too much with the head, but you do have the ability to open it up. And he does have a post in his mouth. So if you have the earlier mentioned blast effects, you can attach one in there and he can breathe fire. Plus you got the wings that have all sorts of articulation. So you can really set Swoop up to be in a lot of dramatic poses. All in all, this one is definitely one for the adult fans. He does present a lot of good options for display. Kind of makes me wish I had a spot where I could display mine. Oh well. At any rate, that concludes my review of the Studio 86 version of Swoop. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please do remember that if you love the content we feature on this channel, I would appreciate a like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.